production of Thirds by Jacob M. Appel. I am so excited to have so many wonderful faces in the audience. So this show that you're about to see is an entirely student-produced workshop production, which means that everything that you're going to see, the direction, the design, pretty much everything, of course the acting, everything except for actually the play being written itself is entirely done by students here of the university within the theater department. We have worked over the past sort of month or so, starting out in just a small classroom space where we would take all of the desks and sort of push them back against the walls and create our set in there until we eventually moved in here in this space and built what you see today. And it's been a really, really amazing process just working with these student actors and student stage management team, who you won't see quite so much, but who are all doing amazing work behind the scenes to get this thing up on its feet. And we are so, so excited to have you all here to see what we've been working on. I'd also like to just take a quick second to talk about the Maine Masque, which you may or may not see on your programs, is sort of the student theater organization here at the University of Maine, and is the organization that has really made this type of work possible. So Maine Masque is actually the third oldest student-run theater organization on a college campus in all of the entire country, which is a pretty amazing thing that we can say that we have here at UMaine. And Maine Masque does a whole bunch. We do small shows like this. We do stage readings. We just did a reading recently of Shakespeare's Othello just a couple of weeks ago. And as you'll see on the back of your program coming up, we have an upcoming reading of Shakespeare's Coriolanus, which will be a full production that will be happening next year that will sort of be helmed by me alongside our assistant stage manager, Patty, who you probably saw at the door. So we do lots of stuff like that. We also do headshot and resume workshops, places for student actors and theater students of all kinds to just sort of work on their professional materials to sort of go into the real world, as well as just sort of fun events, like we do musical theater karaoke a lot. Really, really great organization that does a lot, as well as every spring there is the Maine Masque show, which is an entirely student-produced main stage show. We just wrapped up the Maine Masque show this year, just a couple weeks ago, which was A Marriage of Inconvenience, also by Jacob M. Appel, same playwright, that was directed by one of our other students in the department. And then our Maine Masque show for the following year will be announced in just a couple upcoming weeks, which will be announced at the Apple Awards, which is our sort of end of the year student theater awards, also hosted by the Maine Masque. As you saw outside, there is a donation jar out there. This is an entirely free admission show, but we ask that you, if you enjoy what you see tonight and you want to help make more student theater productions like this happen, to consider leaving a donation that will really help support student arts on campus. We'd also like to give a huge, huge thank you to the faculty and staff of the UMaine School of Performing Arts who have really helped make this possible by getting us in the space, helping us set up technical elements, and just sort of advising this entire process. This inspiration to produce this play came out of a class last year, a script analysis class, with the amazing Dr. Rosalie Purvis, who is right out there, who we all love. And we read this play in her class and we were like, wow, we really, really would like to do this play here, and now here we are a year later, and you guys will get to see it all in person. So huge thank you to them for making this possible. We could not do it as students without an amazing group of faculty. I'd like to invite you all for just a second to take out your phone and make sure that it is either off or silenced, just to make sure that nothing goes off during the show. And also, if you could just take a quick second to look to your left and your right, which is the opposite of mine right now, and just take a quick second to look at the emergency exits. We have an exit right out here on the right side of the theater where you all came in, and then on the left side, my right, we have another exit back here. In the event of emergency, please use these doors. Thirds runs about 90 minutes with a 10-minute intermission. And I think that's all I have for you. So now I will stop talking and get on with the show. Thank you all for coming. It is so wonderful to have you all here. And I hope that you all enjoy Thirds.
military considered attaching nuclear-powered rockets to the moon and flying into the Soviet Union. This is a worse idea than that.
Could be.
Please, Maya. Delilah's gonna go through the roof.
Could be.
You're not listening to me.
Could be.
Nobody ever listens to me. Not since Mom died. Sometimes I think if I shot myself, y'all just think it was a car backfiring.
Don't get yourself worked up, Libby. I was listening. You were telling me about how the moon planned to run into the Pentagon. I don't know. Can you pass me that trowel? The one with the tapered blade.
When we have a difference of opinion at the library, let's say which new book to order in a given year, we always form a committee. That way each librarian has a chance to voice her ideas. It's a very healthy way to do things.
I have a library. That in mind.
What I meant was, maybe we should form a family committee. You and Delilah.
I realize you're trying to be helpful, Libby, but let's face it. If you'd been advising Columbus, you'd have a committee debating if the Earth was round, and we'd still be in Eastern Europe fighting off Cossacks while our husbands argued whether the Old Testament permitted bacon made from soybeans. Trust me, some situations call for decisive action. Can you pass me that level?
Mama wouldn't have liked you smoking in the house.
Mama wouldn't have liked you selling that house.
Don't drag me into this. That's between you and Delilah.
I'm not dragging you into anything. You inherited 1/3 of the house. It's time you act like you own 1/3 of the house.
I do my part. I've paid my share of the taxes.
I paid my taxes. Assume your authority for once. Put your feet up on something. Piss in a corner for Christ's sake. Say to me, Maya, you're trespassing on my third.
Maya, you're trespassing on my third of the house.
This is your property, damn it, your castle, the house where your mother died. Say to me, Maya, you're trespassing on my third of the house.
Maya, you're trespassing on my third of the house.
That feels good, doesn't it? Say, I pay my goddamn taxes, Maya. You've got no business trespassing on my third of the house.
I pay my goddamn taxes, Maya. You've got no business trespassing on my third of the house.
Say, Maya, get the fuck out of my third of the house.
Maya, get the fuck out of my third of the house.
And if I won't get the fuck out of your third of the house,
If you won't, then I'll go back to the library.
you would do that, wouldn't you?
Or I could go back to my apartment. I'm thinking about baking a pie for the new reference librarian. He's very distinguished looking. You don't think a pie would be too forward, do you? Nothing fancy, of course. Nothing with cream or meringue. Just an insidious Dutch apple pie. Or maybe a rhubarb cobbler.
I thought you were meeting Delilah here.
I am. Why don't I invite you into my third of the house? That way you wouldn't be trespassing and there'd be no reason to argue.
Arguing is healthy. It prevents plaque from building up in your heart.
Is that true?
I don't know, I'm not a doctor.
But where did you hear?
Oh, I just made it up. It sounded good.
You can't just make things up because they sound good.
Or what? The army's gonna fly the moon into me? I tell you what. I'll decide whether or not I can make things up. You help me out with the wall. Why don't you stir this to keep it from hardening?
I'm not an ostrich, Maya. I know you think I am, but I'm not.
Doesn't it look so solid? I'm so glad I went with brick and not wood.
You think I live with my head in the sand, but you're wrong. I know the world is full of mad bombers and sex predators and self-proclaimed evangelists who do the artificial limbs from wounded war veterans. I recognize that every day traveling circus clowns seduce and abandon teenage girls. And that escaped baboons carry sleeping children out of their bedrooms and bashing their skulls with stones. But just because I know about it doesn't mean that I have to like it. You and Delilah are the only family I've got. I have every right to want us to be happy.
You know what would make me happy?
What?
It would make me happy if you were less interested in making everybody else happy. This isn't Woodstock.
That I was reading this book at the library?
You and your library books! You're no better than Mom and her fan letters! Don't you ever want to just go up some maybe they can read Moby Dick until he begs for mercy. Don't you ever want to just stand up to the world and say, I'm in charge here, cross me at your peril, I've only got one chance at life, god damn it, and I'm not taking any prisoners. Don't you ever want that?
No, I don't.
No, of course you don't. You really are just like Mom. Do you know what else would make me happy?
What?
If you stop bringing me flowers.
I thought you like flowers.
I do. I love them. They're beautiful. But when you're not bringing them, you're bringing them for Mom. Like you have every week since I can remember. Only Mom isn't here anymore.
Sorry. I thought of it that way.
You wanna know what else would make me really happy?
What?
It would make me really happy. You could stir a little bit more of this. It's a bucket of something, not a martini. Like this.
Please don't make me stir this. It makes me feel complicit. As though I'm enabling an alcoholic and abetting a war criminal. This must be how the soldiers who built the Berlin Wall felt. Following their orders, but knowing they were trapping themselves forever on one side of the barrier, and it turned out to be the wrong side. Maya, do you think I'm on the wrong side of the wall?
Could be.
I don't think I can go on stirring like this, not knowing which side I should be on. Why does all of life have to be about choosing sides? Please don't make me choose sides.
If you don't want to stir, you don't have to stir.
I don't?
No, of course you don't. It's a free country. You could join the Foreign Legion if you truly wanted to, or the circus, or even the Republican Party. But I'm your baby sister, and it would make me really happy if you could stir that cement.
What about Delilah?
If you're lucky, we'll be done before she even gets here. She won't ever know that you helped out. We'll be like a secret agent.
So I should work harder. That's it. I'll show the cement who's in charge of it around here. This is my third of the house, isn't it? Present the wall to your sister as a fait accompli. A combined effort of 2/3. And if she doesn't like it, I had nothing to do with it.
Nothing at all. Oh my god, that's her! You should have stirred faster.
What do you do? God help us. This is why I became a librarian. To avoid situations like this. You never have a real crisis at the library. Worse than you can run or dog your pages, or maybe a kid drops into a position in a mud puddle. But that's not the death of Western civilization, is it? We always find a way to manage somehow. Sometimes we use scotch tape or a steam iron if we're desperate. I'm not out for confrontation, Maya. I'm just not. As though someone dropped your older sister into a mud puddle. I'm home. I know, we'll have to hide it.
Someone left the lights on in the garage. I don't need to start in on you, Maya, but you're not having double coupon days down at the electric company.
Get a grip on yourself. It is just a wall. The grip of China is just a wall. Hope that works.
It's not your responsibility to put the president of the electric company's kids through college.
What's that smell? What smell?
It smells like plaster.
Are you sure it's not a blend of sulfate-resistant Portland cement and slaked lime?
Have you been messing around with toxic chemicals in here? Jesus, you're not running one of those crystal methadone laboratories, are you?
Crystal methamphetamine. That's a leading internet search at the library.
Well,
I gotta hand it to you, Delilah. You figured me out. Once Mama died, I started sniffing liquid paper to keep my edge on. And from there, it became rubber cement and aerosol paint and nail polish remover. I began trucking in permanent magic markers by the kilo. And before I know it, I was hooked on heroin and angel dust and rolling marijuana joints filled with crack cocaine. That's right, your baby sister funds her dope habits, turning tricks at highway rest stops and running guns for the Latin kings. You wanna know why it smells
Okay, if you're not running one of those labs, what smells like plaster?
I don't smell a thing.
What on earth?
I had nothing to do with it.
Let me guess. Another one of your sculptures? It's a wall. I can see that.
I just hope it hasn't damaged the parquet. I'm dividing the house into thirds.
Don't start with me, Maya.
Please, let's not fight.
This way you can sell your 2/3 and I can keep my third. It'll be sort of like a lopsided duplex.
We're selling the house, Maya. The entire house. This is not up for discussion. You'll have more than enough money left over from your third to buy a nice apartment. But Olivia and I cannot continue to pay for a 4-bedroom house in the suburbs. It's just not reasonable.
That's easy for you to say. You don't live in the house.
Please listen to me. We all just sat down and talked this over like reasonable adults. I'm sure we can reach a compromise. Maybe we could settle a game of rock, paper, scissors, like we used to do when we were kids.
Look, Maya, I didn't ask Mama to burst an aneurysm. I'm just dealing with things as they come at me. But I am the executor of the estate, and without the survivors' benefit from Papa's law firm, there's no way for things to keep going on like this. Put yourself in my shoes for one moment. I have a mortgage of my own to pay off too, and tuition to prepare for. Am I supposed to deny my kids a college education because the money is tied up in their aunt's home equity?
You and me first, Maya. Okay, ready? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock. What are crystal scissors?
Who's talking about college, Delilah? Your girls aren't even in kindergarten.
You gotta plan ahead with these things, especially in New York. Once you have children, you'll understand what I mean.
And if I don't ever have children,
Oh, you will.
maybe I won't want to have children.
That's exactly what I said when I was 27. And then I turned 30. And suddenly I was overcome with this desire to spread my DNA across the continent like marmalade. Just wait. You'll have your turn.
It doesn't work unless we all do it. Please, Maya. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Scissors. Would slice your paper to pieces.
You'll have your turn too. You'll be dead and your girls will sell your house off to total strangers.
Probably.
And that doesn't bother you?
It's not a matter of it bothering me or not bothering me. That's the way the world works. People buy houses and people sell houses. There's nothing I can do. Besides, what do you need such a large house for?
Be reasonable, Delilah. It's fun, just like when we were kids. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Paper. Go on. But it's suffocating rock.
For God's sake, Maya, grow up. You can't just go caking cement onto hard wood.
Why don't you two play first? Ready? On the count of 3. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
And enough already. You would have settled World War II with a coin toss.
Nobody dies in a coin toss.
I love you, Maya. Truly, I do. But just because I love you doesn't mean I owe you a ranch house on 1.5 acres with a clay tennis court and a jacuzzi in walking distance from the 3rd highest ranked public elementary school in the nation. 2nd highest if you count long-term college placement.
I can't believe you're even saying that. Like I just chose some random house at the real estate listings and said I wanted that one. We grew up in this house, Delilah. Do you remember that? Do you remember our childhood? Do you remember how Uncle Barney used to bring his girlfriends every Thanksgiving and carve their initials into a tree?
A different woman every year.
And we don't have to stand outside for however long, no matter how cold it was.
Like Adam and Valen.
Until that year he ran out of trees. Do you remember that, Delilah? When he brought over the chubby woman with the giant lips and he blew a gasket because all of the trees were already taken? Do you remember the look on his face when he caught him carving Barney Loves Dolores into the refrigerator door?
Poor Uncle Barney. He never brought any other girlfriends after that.
I don't blame Mama for not letting him. Not without a marriage license in his wallet. Sometimes I think the only reason he ever got hitched again was so he could brought Aunt Ida over for the first time, and Mama insisted on giving her a tour of the backyard tree by tree?
So you do remember. And what about that time the raccoon climbed down the chimney and tore up all the upholstery?
I remember Papa taking me swinging out with a golf club and throwing his back.
And right where you're standing is where Jimmy didn't kiss me for the first time. That sofa's where Jimmy and I.
Please, we'll tell the new owners. Maybe they'll put up a plaque that says, Jimmy Denton slept here.
I had such a crush on Jimmy Denton.
And that chair is where Mama did my makeup while I waited for Walter to produce me to take me to the prom. And that beam is where we used to hang the mistletoe. And underneath that beam is where we used to make out with Alan Templeman.
I had such a crush on Alan Templeman.
Well, a plaque for Walter, and a plaque for Alan, and God knows how many other plaques. Maybe you should make a list, if you can still remember.
It's not just one thing. It's Mama writing those fan letters at the escritoire, and Papa trying to wire the front porch light and shorting out the power for a 2-mile radius, and visits from Grandma Dory when she thought she was Joan Crawford and this was the Beverly Wilshire Hotel. And it's our entire childhoods, and you want to give it all away for 30 pieces of silver or a pound of flesh or whatever the going rate is for a lifetime of memories.
Did I ever have a crush on Alan Templeman?
I'm not missing the point, Maya. You're missing the point. Sure, a lot happened here. But this isn't the grapes of wrath, for Christ's sake. Papa didn't build this house from logs he hewed in the forest. He bought it from a real estate agent. And that was 30 years ago, not 300. I think it's delightfully quaint that you've developed this deep attachment to the land, that you've become the Tom Joad of Westchester County. The time has come to move on. I promise I'd help you in any way I reasonably can. Todd and I will go with you to look for an apartment. Or even help you find a job, if you decide you want one. But Todd's been working 12-hour shifts down at the clinic. And you can only see so many crazy people before you start bringing it home with you. Something has got to give, Maya. We need the money.
I thought it was a fair compromise. You can sell your 2/3 and I can keep my third. Look at this. I tried to map it out so that every section would have bathroom access and an exit door, but I tried to keep as many places with sentimental value as possible, like the porch swing, and the kitchen table, and the pantry where we played hide and seek. But you don't have much leeway with only 1/3 of the house. The hardest part was giving up Mama and Papa's bedroom, but I couldn't design a section that had their bedroom and an exit door in the same third. I kept having to weave in and out and back out on myself. It ended up looking like a congressional district.
Why can't we just be a happy family? They're out there, you know, happy families. I read about that.
We can be a happy family. As soon as your sister stops trying to bait me. She knows full well I can't sell 2/3 of a house. Have you ever read a real estate listing that begins 2/3 of a house situated on 2/3 of a lawn with a garage space for 1.3 automobiles? She's just trying to make me feel guilty about doing what she knows I'm already going to do anyway. Since when do you know anything about bricklaying?
I learned it on the internet. You can learn anything on the internet.
Not at the library. We have filters. Otherwise, all the fathers come in on weekends to look at smut while their kids do research. Ties and missions.
About the only word you can put into a search engine and not hit pornography is drywalling.
This really is too much. Has it ever crossed your mind that you might need permission to build fortifications across your living room?
Permission from you?
Permission from the town? You can't do this kind of thing without a building permit.
I have a building permit. Impressed, huh? Vince Cangelosi runs the Construction and Variances Division down at Central Hall. You do remember Vince Cangelosi from junior high school?
Funny looking kid. Giant forehead, no chin. nose shaped like a hatchet?
That's him. He looks exactly the same.
I have such a crush on Vince Cangelosi.
So I'm in line filling out an application when I see it can take anywhere from 3 to 6 months to get approved. And I swear I'm about to give up and try something else. When Vince Cangelosi recognizes me and starts telling me what a crush he had on me when I was 13. All it took was a small show of kindness on my part, and he was more than glad to expedite the process.
So you slept with Vince Cangelosi and he gave you a building permit.
I smiled at Vince Cangelosi, and he fast-tracked my application.
This is why I switched to the children's with the library. The families in the children's room get along so well. The families in the book set. Little House on the Prairie, Swiss Family Robinson. With the families outside the books, it's sometimes harder to tell.
Todd warned me not to let you keep living here alone. He said the estate should charge you rent, like any other tenant. That not to charge you rent is irresponsible, psychologically unhealthy. But I honestly believed I was doing the right thing by giving you some time to find yourself. Now I'm not so sure.
Send Todd my love. And, oh, thank him for his ability to pathologize the normal. I'm sure he makes a damn fine psychiatrist. And he can rest assured that if I do get lost, if I fall behind the sofa or something, I'll be sure to let him know.
Why don't we go on style letters? Like we used to in order to determine who would choose the pizza toppings. Highest letter gets to decide what the house.
Sometimes I want to shake you, Maya Tuck. All that beauty, all that intellectual talent. Don't you have any desire to contribute? To leave your mark on the world?
Who wants to go first?
Have you and Todd ever considered that all progress is not measured by the gross domestic product? I contribute plenty. I've completed nearly 2 self-portraits. Mama's tomato crops are having a bumper year. I set up bird feeders all along the raspberry grove. And, oh, there's orioles nesting in the oak tree.
Z.
Think that life is all about birds and butterflies and flowers and doing whatever you darn please?
That was just practice. This is for real. Highest letter wins. Z.
Mom's death hasn't changed you at all. To you, the whole world is just an enormous game created solely for your personal enjoyment. And Livy is still bringing over flowers for Mama.
I didn't realize it was upsetting everybody.
Tiger lilies. It's hard to think of tiger lilies without thinking of what on earth?
It's cement.
I just bought these shoes.
You better watch out for Ford Gardens.
What in God's name has gotten into the two of you? Who puts flowers in cement?
Go get her bath towel.
What does she need a bath towel for?
Trust me, they're in the linen closet.
What the fuck?
How many bath towels left?
Bring a couple of face towels then.
This is total bullshit.
All that's left are cloth diapers.
Then you better bring them quickly.
Why isn't there any water?
You better use these.
Why isn't there any water?
Promise me you won't get upset.
I am covered in cement. I'm already upset.
Promise me you won't get more upset.
I have 3 children under the age of 5. I am always more upset.
Maybe we should put this conversation off until they've grown up then.
Damn it, what happened to the water?
They shut it off.
Who shut it off?
The water people, or whatever they're called.
Well, why they shut it off. I'm sure they had a reason.
You never know with those water people. They can be very mysterious.
Have you been sending me the water bills, Amy? This is unbelievable. I asked you, can you put the bills in an envelope and send them to me, or do I have to have Mama's mail forwarded? And you said, of course I can do that. Do you remember that? I didn't ask you to go out and get a job, even though you're 27 years old, and most 27-year-olds don't rely on their older sisters to pay their bills. All I asked of you was to take the bills out of the mailbox, put them in a manila envelope, and send them to me. How hard could that have been?
I sent you the other bills, didn't I? The electric and mortgage and the other ones.
But you held on to the water bills for safekeeping?
I threw them out. Every last one of them. And the overdue notices.
Any particular reason why?
Thought they were a scam?
You thought the water bills were a scam? You know, like the Publishers Clearinghouse or those guys in Nigeria that need help finding the stolen treasures of the Belgian Congo.
When you think about it conceptually, it actually doesn't make that much sense.
What planet do you live on?
Please, Delilah, hear me
No,
out.
you hear me out. Do you really think that water just falls out of the sky? Paper lies were thousands of workers running large, complicated machines, expensive machines, machines built for slave wages in Poland, in China, in Bangladesh. Most people spend their entire lives doing back-breaking labor from dawn to dusk to afford clean water. Maybe if you had a job, maybe if you broke a sweat for once, then you would understand the value of a glass of water.
For real.
Well, look, I don't know, I guess I just thought it was like air or sunshine.
No one pays for those things. And you don't have a job either.
I don't have a job. I'll tell you what, Miss Butterflies and Tomatoes. Tomorrow, you can explain to Eleanor why we don't visit Grandma Muriel anymore. And then, you can spend a phone call with the Department of Motor Vehicles explaining to them why Mama couldn't possibly have gotten a citation for reckless driving because she's dead. Dead, dead, dead. And then you wait on hold while the clerk goes to look for her supervisor because deceased isn't a choice on the appeal forms. And then you can try to explain what dead means to Virginia, who keeps asking if it's like being kidnapped by pirates. So you spend 45 minutes on the phone with the DMV supervisor until his shift ends. And state law prevents him from working even 1 minute more because he's maxed out on overtime for the week. So he suggests you call back in the morning when his hours start again. And you drive Virginia to afternoon kindergarten where she explains to all the other children that Grandma Muriel was kidnapped by pirates. Pirates from Mexico, nonetheless. So you spend the rest of your day in an emergency meeting with the school psychologist and the district social worker, and then you tell me I don't have a fucking job? Todd was right. I should have charged you rent.
Look, she kept apologizing because, maybe I was trying to have a baby and she didn't want to bring up unhappy subjects. All of this, mind you, in 15 minutes? And after I'd filled up the bucket, she giggled in this nervous way of hers and said, this is just like Lucy Ricardo and Ethel Mertz.
So you killed her?
No, I didn't kill her. But then she remembered that Lucy Ricardo did have a baby, and so she started crying. And while she was crying, I suddenly realized she wasn't Dr. Madigan.
Dr. Madigan? How could you possibly mistake a crying woman for Dr. Madigan? He must have been 6'5" and he had that long white beard. I can't imagine him crying ever. No wonder why this woman's having such a hard time of it.
She didn't look like Dr. Madigan Libby, but she was living in his house. Only now, it's her house. Because Dr. Madigan is dead. I've known this for years, of course. Mom and I went to his funeral out on Long Island, but this morning, sitting in what used to be Dr. Madigan's kitchen, it hit me. Do you understand what I'm driving at? All of the neighbors that lived on this block are dead now. Mrs. Ringmore, the fat woman with the three-legged cats, Rabbi Tinkelbaum and his wife, and crazy Mrs. Hoffmeyer.
I remember crazy Mrs. Hoffmeyer on Halloween.
She used to give away those boiled fruits,
Instead of candy.
kumquats and stewed pears.
And she'd insist you come inside when she served the fruit.
You'd be looking at the clock, knowing that valuable trick-or-treating minutes were evaporating forever,
But Mama still made us go there.
because none of the other kids did.
And it made Mrs. Hoffmeyer feel useful.
What a nutcase that woman was.
Oh, how I disliked crazy Mrs. Hoffmeyer.
Well, she's dead. They're all dead. Their houses are filled with young couples with snot-nosed children and overfed dogs and station wagons and tricycles and goldfish waiting patiently for their turns to swim down the toilet. Just like 25 years ago. Only then, we were the snot-nosed children. It's as though somebody pulled a lever and started the whole thing all over again.
So the neighbors are dead. They were nice people and all, but
Except for crazy Mrs. Hoffmeyer.
with the exception of crazy Mrs. Hoffmeyer, they were nice people.
And did
but
Dr. Madigan go to prison for watering down cancer drugs?
some of the neighbors were nice people, but we didn't really know them. I think I exchanged 10 words with Dr. Madigan in my entire life. And I saw crazy Mrs. Hoffmeyer once every year. So I'm sorry that they're dead. Sincerely, I am. I just don't see what this has to do with us.
If I thought about it, I would have realized that there's a logical order, an inevitable order to all of this. That after Rabbi Tinkelbaum's wife, Mama was the last one to go. Like, when Mrs. Hoffmeyer took those pills, or when Mrs. Ringmore's liver went haywire, and by the time Irene Tinkelbaum's heart stopped beating, very little of Mama remained. I knew that at some level, but I didn't really know it.
I just don't see what this has to do with the water bills.
When I was cleaning out the attic, I found some old carbon copies of Mama's pamphlets.
Mama's letters?
You got to hear this. September 15th, 1980. Dear President Carter, I hope you don't mind me writing again. I certainly don't want to make a nuisance of myself, and I know you have a lot on your plate these days, and it must be so terribly difficult to handle rising oil prices, and the Iranians, and nuclear arms reduction all at the same time. But I saw you on the television the other night, talking about the canal in Panama, and you looked so awfully tired. So much older than you did when I voted for you. And I started to worry. Are you eating well? Are you getting enough sunshine? I know you're not a drinking man, so I don't worry about you driving under the influence of alcohol. But sometimes, driving while you're too tired can also be extremely hazardous. A woman I played bridge with has a nephew at Brown University, fell asleep and drove into a drainage ditch and shattered his collarbone. His name is Alvin Watkins, in case you ever find yourself campaigning in Rhode Island. But what I wanted to tell you, Mr. President, is that you should be very wishes, Mario Tuck.
Dear Mama.
If Carter's office even wrote back.
Dear Mrs. Tuck, I'm always delighted to hear from Americans about their ideas regarding matters of public concern. Fatigue driving is an issue that my administration takes very seriously. As we work together to improve the lives of all Americans, I will certainly keep your views on fatigue driving in mind. Thank you very much for contacting the White House. Sincerely, James Earl Carter Jr., President of the United States.
Our tax dollars at work.
Here's from President Reagan. April 15, 1981. Dear President Reagan, thank you so much for responding to my previous letter. I know you're a very busy man and that you've been shot since our last correspondence. So I appreciate you taking the time. I'm especially grateful you feel no hard feelings about the election. I cannot emphasize enough that my vote for your opponent was not meant as a criticism of your candidacy, but rather reflected my long-standing relationship with your predecessor. You seem like a fine man, too. Had I been permitted to vote twice, I would have voted once for each of you. In any case, I'm very concerned over those jelly beans. My brother-in-law worked as a dentist in New Nazi for many years, and he tells me that the sugar in candy is like cyanide to the teeth. Please do consider switching to a low-sugar snack. I must tell you that you looked a little bit under the weather since you were shot by Mr. Hinckley. But you should take heart, the most likely behind you. No president has ever been shot twice while in office. As far as that, I remember. So hang with them. Best wishes, Miriam Tuck.
We should have these framed.
Wait until you hear the reply she got back.
Dear Mrs. Tuck, I'm always delighted to hear from Americans about their ideas regarding matters of public concern. Dental hygiene. Position my administration is very seriously. As we work together to improve the lives of all Americans, I will certainly keep your views on dental hygiene in mind. Thank you so much for contacting the White House. Sincerely, Ronald Wilson Reagan, President of the United States.
It's an all day reading these.
Maybe Delilah wants to read one?
We really need to get this place cleaned up. And I have to phone the water company.
Suit yourself.
Okay.
Just one. February 14th, 1968. Dear General Westmoreland, I hope you remember me. I'm the co-ed at Vassar who wrote you last October about your photograph on the cover of Time magazine. Maybe you did not receive my letter. I suppose letters get lost a lot during wars. So I'm writing to you again. As I said in my previous note, you would look so much more handsome if you smiled. You must be familiar with the expression, when you smile, the whole world smiles with you. Well, it may be cliched, but it's true. Though, I suppose the North Vietnamese wouldn't smile just because you did. But most people here in New York would. I also learned in my Introduction to Biology course that it takes much more energy to frown than to smile. So maybe, if you frown less, you'd have more energy left over to win the war against the North Vietnamese. I hope you don't think I'm intruding into military matters. I'm just trying to be helpful. Hang in there, General. Best wishes. Muriel Vanda.
She has a point. There's a picture of him in a book I was reading, and he did look so unhappy.
He was losing a war, Libby. There's a reason he looked unhappy.
We don't have any reason to be unhappy, do we? So much fun spending time together like this.
In the house we grew up in.
In the house we're selling.
We need to make this place look presentable. I have a potential buyer lined up.
You're kidding! With Mama hardly cold in her grave.
It's been over a year. It was a year last
It's so easy to walk up those front steps and see Mama sitting at her desk writing fan letters. But it wasn't yesterday. It was 14 months ago. And we've got to make this place look presentable for the buyer.
What time is she getting here?
Around 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock today?
Unfortunately, if you had told me about the water, I would have postponed. I'll have to make sure she doesn't turn on any of the taps before we can get it running again.
I can't believe you went out and found a buyer.
I didn't find her. She found me. It's Phyllis Hoffmeyer.
Crazy Mrs. Hoffmeyer's daughter?
The one that can never get her permission slip signed to go on field trips?
I remember her. Her grandfather took her to the junior prom.
It was her great uncle. Everyone in my grade called her auntie after that.
She just got married. Get this. She married a guy named Hoffmeyer. She met him during roll call at jury duty. Her name is Phyllis Hoffmeyer now.
And what? She just called you up and said, I heard your mother died. Can I buy her house?
She wrote me a note, actually, right after Mama died. She said she was really sorry and that she always admired Mama very much, but also that when the time came, she would love to look at the property. And then she followed up with another note 6 months later, and another note 2 weeks ago. She seems to really want the place.
Maybe there's treasure buried in the backyard, like in Huckleberry Finn.
Well, let it stay buried. I am not selling my childhood memories to Phyllis Hoffmeyer.
Maybe we can toss all this junk into trash bags and take it up to the attic. And I know you don't want to hear this, but you're going to have to do something about that wall.
You stay away from my wall, Delilah. This is my third. You keep Phyllis Hoffmeyer the fuck out of it.
Please stop fighting. We were all getting along so well. What if we draw Scrabble letters again? But this time the lowest letter can decide.
Don't make this any harder than it has to be, Maya. The law is on my side.
You want to show the house? You show the house. But I'm gonna let Miss Hoffmeyer know what she's Hoffmeyering her way into.
What's that supposed to mean?
I'm just saying that somebody should let Mrs. Hoffmeyer know about the fire ants, the septic tank overflowing, and the ghost of our fourth sister who was kidnapped by an escaped baboon.
Hey,
We both know we didn't have a fourth sister and that there are no escaped baboons.
But Phyllis Hoffmeyer doesn't know that.
if nobody starts listening to me, I'm gonna do something drastic.
Don't you dare humiliate me in front of my buyer.
What was our fourth sister's name? Lavinia? No. Tristan? No. Cordelia. Yes! Cordelia! I like Cordelia. Too bad she had to go with your head bash.
I'm going out to the garage to shoot myself.
Jesus, Maya, what do you want from me?
You know what I want. 1/3.
What was that?
Sounded like a car backfire.
I didn't see her coming.
Are you hurt?
Think I'm dead?
Sorry about that.
Phyllis Hoffmeyer.
Hoffmeyer now. Can you believe it? I'm married. I can hardly believe it myself.
Are you all right?
Oh, I'm fine. The Mercedes is another story, but I trust we're all insured.
I was so upset about all the fighting. I thought I'd go home and bake a pie for the new reference librarian. Just a platonic pie. I didn't expect to die so young.
It's my fault, really. I tried making that quick turn into your driveway like your father always used to do. I loved watching him make the turn when I was young. I admired his confidence.
Oh, but you're sure you're all right?
Oh, better than I was before. Like I could hack a lot of food with my bare hands! My only regret is that there was this fascinating story on the radio about how the Army's considering a proposal to knock the moon out of its orbit because it's afraid terrorists could use it to launch an air attack on the United States. but we collided before I heard the end of the story. Oh, no matter. The important thing is that nobody was hurt.
Oh, goodness! Trying to move her body. On television, they always make sure not to move the victim's body.
Call the doctor, call 911.
Don't bother. She's dead.
Dead?
She doesn't have a pulse.
Dead, like not alive anymore.
Dead like the first of the neighbor's children is dead.
Shouldn't we perform CPR or something?
Are you crazy? If she wakes up, she'll sue us. She'll sue you. She'll get the house, all of it, and we'll get nothing. Maya, what are you doing?
It's hopeless. She's dead.
Can't believe it. You'll finish off, Maya.
You've killed my buyer.
That makes this an active crime scene, doesn't it? Now you won't be able to sell the house for years.